Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and we've got some pretty big updates for the new car market in today's video because there's just quite a bit that is happening right now. But before we get into these updates, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. We are going to start things off by going over a report from Cox Automotive that basically outlines where they think the 2023 sales year is going to end for the new car market. So they state that they think that there's going to be about 15 million new cars sold here in the US market during the course of the 2023 sales year, which is up by quite a bit compared to 2022, which was right around the 14 million unit range. And then in this report, they state that so far April has seen a meaningful increase in sales year over year by about 2.3%. However, month over month, there has been a slight decrease, 6.5%, which is actually pretty typical. This is what I personally experienced when I worked in the car business. Is it was like January was horrible, February was better, March was better, April was always a little bit of a lull, and then once you got into the May and then the rest of the summer months, it was just kind of like smooth sailing. There wasn't like more or less cars sold. It was just kind of like all the same until you got to like August, September. That's when things usually got pretty good. But again, this is pretty normal. And then what they also state in this report is that the amount of vehicles available at dealerships is up by 70% year over year. Again, this is new cars. And again, our day supply numbers in the mid 50s in terms of what we're seeing with new cars. And so what this means is this puts us in a market where we've got more cars available year over year. It looks like the new car market is going to sell more cars. And so everything is looking up for the car market, but Cox Automotive seems to be a little bit more doom and gloom because what they state in this report is that although the sales figures are up right now, they think that this is just kind of what's happening right now, and that as the year progresses, they believe that sales are going to start declining because of all the economic headwinds that we are currently experiencing. But what they also state in the report is that manufacturers are increasing their incentive spend, right, as time goes on. And so this could be, part of the reason as to why sales continue to, remain relatively stable this year. And again, have, for the most part, year over year growth within the new car market. So before we dive into where I think the car market is going to go, I'm going to go over a couple more things that are really important for this car market situation. So again, earlier in the video just stated that we've got, a day supply of new cars in the, 50-day range. And on top of that, incentive spend is increasing. Now, the next thing to note is that, just overall affordability of new cars is improving. So wage growth is still positive here in the US. It's not positive by a massive amount, but it is positive. And this is happening at the same time. The average transaction price for new cars is currently trending downwards. So new cars, as time goes on, are costing less money at the same time that people are making slightly more money, which means that overall affordability is improving. Now, the ratio is still way out of whack because the average new car still costs like well over 40 weeks of income for the average American household, which is just way too much. It needs to be in the 30-week range. That's what a normal market typically sees. And so although it's improving, it's still a little bit too high. And, if things in the economy continue to worsen at the same time that these car prices stay at their elevated levels, then I definitely, see that causing a lot of issues in terms of moving metal. But I don't necessarily think that's what's going to happen. And what I think is going to happen is that we're just going to continue to see bigger and bigger discounts from not only dealerships, but also from manufacturers, because both parties are realizing that if they want to continue to move metal, they're going to have to discount that metal. And again, this is already happening on a pretty large scale at this point. I mean, there are a lot of different brands where you're starting to see the dealers have tons of discounts that they're not only just, giving to customers as they're working car deals, but they're posting on their websites. Like it's just out there, like upfront, like for everyone to see. It's not like, oh, we're just going to post the MSRP of our vehicle on our website and see where the person's at. Like there are some dealers that are doing that, but like a lot of dealers at this point, they're like on their websites. It's like, hey, we've got $5,000 off of this vehicle. We've got $7,000 off of the MSRP of this vehicle. And so the market, again, is kind of starting to look more like what it looked like before the pandemic, where dealers were trying to have the lowest prices because that's what was ultimately going to attract customers because, well, they had larger supplies. And again, we are getting to a point where supplies are getting big enough that dealers are going to have to play the discount game, right, to attract customers to buy from their store versus another store. And so when Cox Automotive says that they think that sales are going to start to decline as the year progresses, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that sales are going to actually continue to remain strong throughout this year. And I think that their, forecast number for how many units that will be sold this year, I think it'll continue to increase. Because again, what I am seeing as time goes on is bigger discounts. And there's a lot of people that are just sitting on the sidelines that are waiting to purchase a car once a car drops within a certain price range. And again, we're slowly getting there day by day. And this is more anecdotal, but I get a lot of messages from people like with this specific point where they'll be like, yeah, I'm looking at this particular vehicle, and if it was at this price, and sometimes the numbers that people throw at me are pretty like crazy, like out there. Like one person the other day was like, yeah, if this vehicle was $20,000 less expensive compared to the MSRP price, and it's like, okay, well, unless we are like in a depression, that's probably not going to happen. But a lot of people, like, they're actually a lot more reasonable. It's like, oh, the MSRP in this vehicle right now is, let's just say hypothetically $50,000, and I would buy this vehicle if it was $45,000 for the price. And it's like, that's close enough that, like, after some dealer discount and maybe after some manufacturer incentive, there are a lot of vehicles that expensive. That's pretty dang reasonable. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is I really do think, and again, this is just anecdotal based on, people reaching out to me and, what I hear when I'm going into dealers and everything, is I think there's this large group of people that are just waiting to buy a car once the affordability reaches a certain range. And I think that range is going to be once the average new car is less than 40 weeks of income. Again, that'll still be higher than historic norms, but I think that it'll be low enough that it'll make cars look appealing. Again, you have to look at how expensive cars have been over the last couple of years, right? They've been well over the 40-week range for the last couple of years. And so if we drop below that 40-week range, then although they'll still be high compared to historic norms, they'll look really, really attractive to the people that have been used to the prices we've seen over the last couple of years. So that's just my take on it. I think that the year is going to continue to improve in terms of sales volume despite everything that's happening in the economy, because I think that we're going to continue to see deeper and deeper discounts from dealerships and from manufacturers, because at the end of the day, dealerships and manufacturers exist to move metal, right? And if they've got to, do bigger discounts to move metal, that's just what things are going to be. Because again, you got to remember with manufacturers, right? They make their money when they sell the vehicles to dealerships. And if dealerships can't buy any more vehicles because they aren't selling them anymore, then the manufacturers no longer have a functioning business. And so they're going to have to increase incentive spend. And another fact that I should have brought up earlier in the video is manufacturers are still spending like a really small amount of money on incentives compared to historical norms. Most manufacturers are spending like less than $1,000 per car, whereas prior to the pandemic, most manufacturers were spending like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per car in incentive spend. And so manufacturers have a lot of, pent up money, I should say. That's probably not the best way to put it, but they've got a lot of room where they can grow in the incentive side of things. And so I definitely think there's a lot of potential there. And then on the dealership side of things, again, you got to remember, dealerships make their money with servicing more than anything else. And so if dealerships can sell more cars and get more people to service with them, then that's just going to be a big one for them. But anyways, let me know where you think the car market is going to end. Do you think that things are going to get worse? Do you think that sales are going to start to drop off because of everything that's happening in the economy? Or do you think, that sales are going to continue to be strong this year because we're just going to continue to see bigger and bigger discounts? I'll be interested to hear from that. I'll see you.